Thank you all. Thank you all very much. My name is Charlie Kolb, and I'm the president of the Committee for Economic Development. And on behalf of our trustees and our staff, I want to thank you very much for coming to today's forum and our discussion on human capital strategies for better schools. I want to begin by also thanking our partners. We could not have put this forum together without the really outstanding support from the Austin Chamber of Commerce. And Drew, where are you? Where's Drew Shebrely? He's out in the hall. He's still working. But Drew, I want to thank you. Also thank you for the wonderful CD of Austin music. My daughter listens to Lady Gaga, so this will be a welcome switch from Lady Gaga. I also like Lady Gaga, but I also want to thank IBM and particularly Sandy Dochin for IBM's support and involvement in this, and we're very pleased to have IBM represented on the CED board through Paul Horn, their former head of research. I want to thank also my CED colleagues, Janet Hansen, who is our Vice President for Education Policy. Janet is actually the project director and the author of the report that you have, and also Rachel Gorman, who has made everything happen here today. And finally, I want to express appreciation to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which has underwritten a lot of CED's work on the issue of teacher compensation, teacher quality, and pension reform. Now, a little bit, just a couple of seconds of background about the Committee for Economic Development. We are a business-led public policy organization, a think tank, if you will. We were founded in 1942, and currently we have on our board about 200 senior business leaders and university presidents from around the country. Many of you know Steve Palco, who has been very active on a number of our projects, and of course certainly active in this state, in TBEC and other initiatives. He likes education so much, as you know, he switched careers and went from running an oil company to getting a PhD in education, and I'm very pleased that Steve is an active member of CED. One of our early projects in the 1940s was the Marshall Plan. We actually helped design what became the Marshall Plan for rebuilding much of Western Europe after World War II. And in more recent years, we've been active on issues such as healthcare reform, globalization and trade, money in politics, things like campaign finance reform, and judicial selection reform. We bring our niche is to bring a nonpartisan business perspective, not a lobbying perspective, but a business perspective on key public policy issues that touch on the country's well-being, its economic health, and economic growth. For much of our history, education reform has been a key aspect of our work, and that shouldn't surprise you because business leaders certainly are keenly interested in the quality of their workforce and also the education of our citizens, who play the most important role in the vibrancy and quality of our democracy. So we came to focus on the issue of human capital in the context of teacher compensation and teacher quality in the report that came out in 2009. For those of you who have a lot of time, we have the entire report there. For those of you who want to read the summary, we have a 6-page summary, but it is an outstanding report, and it focuses on issues such as compensation and pension reform. We also included in your packet a recent article by William McGurn in the Wall Street Journal with the headline, the title, Education Reform Starts with Pension Reform. And I think it's fair to say that until fairly recently in most other parts of the country, except Austin, these issues have been neglected. But we believe at CED that they are absolutely essential to attracting and retaining quality teachers to the teaching profession. We are extremely pleased to be here in Austin, and I really want to salute what you all are doing in this city, particularly the collaboration between the Austin Independent School District and the Austin business community. Janet Hansen has been telling me for months that Austin is doing it right, that a number of the things that we talked about in the CED report, you are working hard at and implementing and coming up with innovative ways to make all of this happen. I was particularly interested to talk with Ranjit Nair this morning to hear a little bit more about the perspective that he brings as now as a professor, but also as a senior human resource professional who brings a corporate perspective to a lot of what is happening. And I know that, Ranjit, you're playing a major role in what's happening in Austin. So I think it is very important to have the type of collaborative partnership which you have generated here in Austin. And so we're really pleased at CED to be here to learn a little bit more, to listen, and also to be inspired by what you're doing. I had, earlier in my career, I had the good fortune of working with a great Texas educator. I served with Lauro Cavazos when he was the Secretary of Education in the first Bush administration. As many of you know, he was the president of Texas Tech in Lubbock. And Secretary Cavazos had been in Washington about 2 or 3 months. And we were having lunch together in the Secretary's dining room. I think it was just the Secretary and Mrs. Cavazos and me. And he turned to me and he said, "You know, Charlie, I don't understand why education reform is so difficult in this country. It seems to me you just figure out what the right thing to do is, and then everybody just falls in line and does it." And I said, "Well, Mr. Secretary, with all due respect, I think you're going to find that education reform issues in this country," and this was back in 89, 90, "I think you're going to find that some of the education reform issues are among the most hotly contested, politicized issues in the domestic policy agenda." It doesn't have to be that way, and I think the type of collaboration that you have developed in this city can be an inspiration to others in this country. So at CED, we've come to learn, to listen, to be inspired, and to spread the word. We look forward to continuing the relationships that we have established here in Austin, and thank you very much for allowing us to be with you and to co-host this forum. It is now my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Thomas Pesant, who is now a professor of practice with the Harvard Graduate School of Education. He spent 11 years as the superintendent of the Boston Public Schools, and he served as superintendent in San Diego, Oklahoma City, Eugene, Oregon, and Springfield, Pennsylvania. He also is an alumnus of the U.S. Department of Education, having served in the first half of the Clinton administration as the Assistant Secretary for Elementary and Secondary Education. For me, I'm actually a recovering lawyer, but I've spent a lot of time over the last 20 years in education policy issues, both in the private sector and also in the nonprofit sector. And Tom Pesant's name is like, it's up there with Jim Hunt, great governors, great education leaders, and I think I'm not overstating this. He is definitely one of the country's great superintendents, and I think if you talk with people who follow education policy and education reform, Tom Pesant would be in the top 5 on anybody's short list. And I don't say that as an idle statement. I mean, he's been someone whose career I've followed. He has been an outstanding education reform reader. He has not only written about it, he teaches about it, but he has practiced it. So we are extremely honored, Tom, that you have come down from Boston to share with us your thoughts, and again, we're privileged to be with you, and thank you very much. Please welcome Tom Pesant.